What up, and welcome to the show. No longer am I going to do that long, drawn-out intro. I'm just going to welcome you to the show from now on. Couple quick things before we get into this conversation that I had with Robbie from the Twisted History Instagram account. This Wednesday, for Wicked Shit Wednesday, is going to be a live podcast. We're not going to be playing any music, taking any requests. I'm going to have the homie Scotty Two Balls from Carnival Spirits on the show. And we're going to be kicking it, talking a whole bunch of random shit. I'm really looking forward to it. It's going to be a dope time. Shout out to Scotty and everybody else over at Carnival Spirits. This Friday, I'll have part 2 of my CD collection video up. It's going to be part of the new schedule. Monday, new episode of the podcast. Wednesdays are Wicked Shit Wednesdays. And Fridays will be my CD collection, part whatever. Because there's going to be a whole bunch of them. And without any further ado, let's get into this conversation. This was dope. Shout out to Robbie from the Twisted History page. And let's get into it. All right, and we're live. We got Robbie of the Twisted History Instagram account. What's going on, man?
Nothing. Just excited to talk to you. I've been listening. For a long time, listened to every episode, I think. So just, I'm happy to do this.
No doubt. I appreciate you hopping on. Last week I had gone on, asked people who they wanted to see on the show. And I got a few requests for you. I didn't really realize you did podcasts like that, but I understand that you did another show and, your Instagram page is dope. So it seems like you know your history. And I was like, fuck it, get them on here.
Yeah, I haven't done a lot of podcast stuff at this point, at least in this, world. I had done just a pure hip hop podcast for a couple years a while ago, but I've been off the air for a while. And then the guys from the Dim Carnival podcast asked me if I wanted to come on, so I had to figure out how to basically do the shit from my phone, and it was easier than I expected. So yeah, it was fun to do.
Oh, okay. So hip hop outside of the Juggalo world.
Yeah. I used to have a show called Eat Food Already, which was a Jay-Z reference, and we would just talk, weekly, new releases and stuff, and sometimes when there wasn't anything going on, give kind of oral histories of whoever we were listening to, like Mac Dre or whatever. So yeah, I've got quite an I like to have an array of knowledges in the music world, but I'd say my specification, like my most point of the most knowledge would probably be like Juggalo stuff, and then like Nine Inch Nails, stuff like that.
Oh, okay. Yeah. I mean, that's one of my goals with my podcast is it's primarily Juggalo, but I talk about other dudes like Ill Bill,
totally.
The Griselda dudes. I want to put Juggalos onto other music outside of the Juggalo world, because there's just as dope music outside of this world that people need to not need to, but should open up to.
Yeah, it's worth, I think there's a lot of stuff that, depending on what element you take out of Juggalo stuff, what draws you to it specifically, like there's something out there that also does that same thing, for instance, like speaking of the Griselda shit, you and Mike from Speaker Clout talking about that is what got me to check that out. So it's working,
Dope. That's, if I can put one person onto somebody outside of the Juggalo world, I look at it like my job is accomplished.
Totally. Yeah.
What's that? Because for a long time, when I first got into this shit, this was all I listened to for a few years. Strictly ICP Twisted. And then I branched out. Eventually, first group I got into outside of this shit was 3-6 Mafia, and that was because of the ICP Twisted connection with that collaboration they did with Just Another Crazy Click.
Totally.
And from there, I just absolutely love hip hop. And if I could put more people on to other shit, mission accomplished.
Yeah, totally. What was recommendation wise, if someone was gonna dive into the Griselda catalog, what would be the album you would say is, start here?
Benny the Butcher's Tana Talk 3.
Okay. I'll be
Benny
listening to that.
Yeah, Benny the Butcher to me is a fucking monster. I love Benny. His new project, The Plugs I Met, is really good as well. But Tana Talk 3,
that's the one.
Yeah, that's the one right there, in my opinion.
Totally.
So,
well, that's the one I'm asking for. So
start there. Definitely a good starting point for the Griselda shit.
Cool.
Yeah, man. And then back into the Juggalo world. How long you been down with this shit?
98, I want to say, somewhere around there. I was born in 87, so about 10 years old when all the Malenko stuff happened, all the Hollywood stuff. And, already reading like Spin magazine and different different magazines, watching a lot of MTV. And so it would just kind of pop up here and there. Kids would, be whispering in the hallways. Or, I remember actually funny, there were some kids I hung out with, because I hung out with them more. I was into like Korn and, that kind of stuff. So I hung out with all the goth kids in school, and they had an interest in, like black magic and stuff like that, witchcraft. But I mean, as much as an 11-year-old does. So that, they thought it was spooky or whatever. And I remember one of the kids who supposedly had all this knowledge telling me about all the different, I guess it would be gods or whatever, that you would summon in his witchcraft books. And one of them was the Great Malenko, which obviously this kid's talking out of his ass. But I remember because of that being like, oh, these guys they really know what they're talking about here. Truth be told, it's a reference to a wrestler, but
right.
But yeah, so that was kind of, how I first was intrigued by it, I guess, was just little, whispers here and there, and seeing them physically and going like, oh, these guys look wild, and then I don't know how I originally heard it. I think I was interested enough to borrow a friend's older brother's copy of Malenko or something, and then played that a few times and enjoyed it, but then didn't have access to a copy of my own or whatever. And then cut to, let's say, May of 99. I was on a vacation with my family up in Canada, and it was the day Jekyll Brothers dropped, and I picked that up, and I picked up the Alternative Press magazine that had Violent J on the cover. I wanted the one with Twisted and the blood and all that, but I was, about a couple days short of being 12 years old and didn't really want to have that conversation with the family, so picked up the safer cover.
There you go.
And then just, I mean, it was on from there, poured through the album. That specific album has the liner notes, where it's talking about trivia and the Rydas, and there's all, Big Money Hustlers. So there's a movie coming out, there's action figures, and then you read the Alternative Press article side by side with that, and it dives into the history of it. So with those two purchases right there, I was pretty much, game on from there.
Fuck yeah, dude. That's pretty similar to how I got into it. Same right around that time.
Mm-hmm.
And you got your Twisted History page up on the Instagram.
Yeah.
And I wasn't really familiar with it, to be honest, until maybe a couple weeks ago, 2 weeks ago.
Sure.
And going through it, where the fuck do you get all this crazy ass footage? Like, you got some dope footage and all these video clips and pictures, and like, this is like the most in-depth history I've seen done on Twisted, and it's really dope.
Yeah, just straight digging, honestly, like the equivalent of a DJ digging in the crates, just like scouring every, fan site, or like the web archives of every fan site I know, and just searching all kinds of different shit on YouTube and trying to find the goal originally. So what started it was that I had kind of fallen out for a couple years of, the Juggalo world in general. Just got it really into like lo-fi punk rock stuff, and was in bands and just kind of wasn't paying attention. Okay. And so then around the time, I'd say around the time Twisted left Psychopathic, I kind of, just because everything was going on and it was, it seemed interesting, I jumped back in just to kind of see what had been going on. And so with that, I had to go back and kind of refresh myself on everything I had missed. And through doing that, just, started back at the beginning. And, back when I was, originally listened to everything, there wasn't, old ass shows on YouTube, and that stuff didn't exist. So I kind of did a run just for myself of like, let's start at the beginning and go through all of it, and then okay, that was fun, let's do it again, and then go a little deeper this time. And it just became kind of obsessed with like finding every little radio show appearance, or whatever live footage is out there and stuff. And then the thing that was I was kind of frustrated because it was hard to find. That stuff's not in one central location,
right?
And I wanted it to be, and so eventually I was just like, I heard your show and like Mitch's show, stuff like that, and I was like, I got knowledge, I could do something like this, but I don't know if it's a podcast. And so I started the Instagram, because I was just like, I do want all this information to be in one place, so I guess I got to put it in one place.
Yeah.
So, yeah. So that's just how I have the knowledge, just through constantly looking for it.
Yeah, man, it's really good shit on there. I mean, I know the history, but seeing it put out there like that, such details, down to the littlest details, like liner notes from Jekyll Brothers. And what was it you just posted today? What was it, the back of one of the comic books where they said Twisted had like probation or some shit?
Yeah, like some little, tidbit. And that's been the fun thing, is doing it slow, is going, okay, like what happened specifically in this time period, and then like kind of sifting through all the stuff and seeing like, I just saw that last night looking at, there's a website I found where they have all the old Chaos comics that ICP put out, just online to read. And so I was like, well, I remember those newsletters. So I went through and, I don't remember that little clip about them having 8 months probation for weed, but, there it is. It's part of the story. So,
yeah. Yeah, I don't remember that. I have all the comic books myself. I don't remember that. Like little tidbits like that. It's like interesting. And then you forget stuff like how they would talk about the riders and you had to call the phone number. Like, the shit that they used to do back in the day was so dope.
Totally. And it was like,
it was so cryptic.
And then listening to that message, the phone message. Did you see that I had posted the clips of that?
No, I didn't see that.
Okay, so in that Riders thing, Joker's Gallery actually pointed me to a video someone had online of the actual message you got when you called the phone number.
No shit.
And it was like a big elaborate. Basically, the Riders was to pique your interest for what was to be the first gathering of the Juggalos in December of '99 in St. Louis. And like, I don't remember anything about that ever being even rumored or talked about. But, then that's part of why I want to do the whole thing, was just like, I want to learn too, so I want to, like, there's been people that have been commenting and saying, well, actually, this is what's true. And I'm like, oh shit. Okay. Let me edit the post. Cause like, there's not a behind the paint for Twisted. There's not a book or even a really good documentary or anything like that. So it's like,
right. Yeah.
I kind of want to, if anything, just kind of tribally build it.
Yeah. It's fucking dope. I would love for Twisted to write a book, like one of them.
Totally. I mean, I've been waiting, but I think that from what I hear, they just don't want to.
Every time the question gets asked, they're like, no, we're not going to do that. We have no interest in writing a book.
I don't know if it's legal stuff or if it's just there's stuff they don't want to talk about from their personal lives or what it is. Because I mean, their personal lives really aren't on Front Street like that in general. No. Never have been. So I imagine that's a big part of it. And also all the NDA stuff, like, there's stuff they just can't talk about. So
that, and who would write the book? Would it be both of them? Would it be just one of them? Because when Violent J wrote his book, it's very clear Violent J's the front man of ICP.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's Jay and Shaggy, but Jay is the main guy.
He's the creative input, the creative brain or whatever.
Whereas Twisted, if you look at Twisted and somebody asks you, who's the main guy? You'd be like, neither one.
Yeah, it depends what time you're talking about, I guess. And
yeah.
Like back in the day, I'd say Jamie and like, the early days. But at this point, it couldn't be more split.
Yeah. It would be dope if they did that. But we got dudes like you putting in the work and doing it, your own way, putting their history out. And digging deep. It's fucking dope.
See, the way I would like to see it would be someone like me or not me, because I don't know if I have the capacity to write a book, but someone, an outsider, a third party is what I mean. Just sit down and do a bunch of interviews with those dudes, and then do it like most rock star bios or whatever are done, where they have a ghostwriter who just compiles hours of interviews and turns it into the story.
Yeah.
And I think that's doable. I just don't think they're interested in it.
No, that makes me think, like, when I first started this podcast, one of my goals was to get artists on my show, interview them, talk to them, shit like that. And to be honest, at this point, that's something that I don't really have an interest in.
Mm-hmm.
But if there was one person I were to get on the show, it would be Monoxide.
Yeah.
Yeah, because it seems like a lot of the times when they do interviews, it's either just Madrox, like on a podcast or something like that, or you don't really get, like, I would love just a one-on-one with Monoxide, because he doesn't hold anything back. He doesn't give a fuck. Like, you can truly tell he doesn't give a fuck.
Yeah.
And
he doesn't give a fuck to be dishonest for any reason. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
It's not that he's like out there saying wild shit, but he's just not pulling
like
punches.
I feel like I relate to him, and I like, if I could have a conversation with him and just get some shit out of him, like when he had that stream a few months back. Do you remember that, where he talked about
the fight and all that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, that shit was crazy.
Yeah, and and I remember, because I've been doing this for so long, like looking at all the websites. I remember seeing on like old Fago lovers or whatever, the talk of that tour being canceled, and it was because supposedly everyone was in the bus and got the flu or whatever. And so it's like, that could have just been the story for the rest of history, that everyone got the flu and they canceled the tour. And it makes me wonder, how many of those there are.
How many stories like that there are.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And we get little tidbits like that when he does his live, because he's just being bombarded by why aren't you guys getting along? And he's just like,
and it's your fault. That's the biggest thing.
Right. Yeah. And the fucking heat that Twisted gets, man, is so unfair. So unfair.
Yeah, 100%. And it's, it's obvious where it comes from, and I'm not saying from a person or anything like that, but I mean, just as a mentality, because myself included, a lot of people know who Twisted is because ICP said, listen to Twisted,
Right.
So then if ICP says, don't listen to Twisted, there's a lot of people that's law,
Right. And that's fucking unfortunate, because for me, it doesn't stop at Psychopathic Records.
No,
never has. When Misery left Psychopathic Records, I still followed his career. I have a bunch of his shit that he put out after Psychopathic Records, and I always thought Misery was dope, and it's good shit. But a lot of people just dismissed it because he's not on Psychopathic anymore.
Well, and that's the thing, is it's all the talk of like, family and like, oh, we love these people so much, they're like our brothers, blah blah blah. But it's like, as soon as that Hatchet Man's not on the back of the CD, where'd that energy go?
Exactly.
And I don't know. It's weird. It's like a lot of people who'll be like, oh, I love Twisted. They're one of my favorites. I don't know anything they've done after leaving Psychopathic. And it's like, well, dog, you just like a record label.
Right. Exactly. It's not the group you're supporting just because of the alliance, if you will.
Exactly. And now,
and I used to do that. I admit it blindly. I would just buy shit, especially with like strange music. And then I'd buy these CDs and I'd be like, these CDs aren't even that good. Why am I buying them? I'm only buying them because it's strange music. And I did that with Psychopathic as well. And I'm like, all right, I got to be more selective of my shit. I can't buy shit just because it's part of a label. If I don't like it, I don't like it.
Exactly. And I think that's why, when I was saying earlier that there was a time where I kind of moved away from it a little bit, I think it was that realization, is that I was just buying stuff and I would listen to it constantly, but I didn't enjoy it. So I was like listening to, like, say some of the Zug Island stuff or something or whatever. And I was just like, oh, I don't even really like this, but I'm spending hours and hours with it because I think I have to or something.
Right.
So I had to go on my own little journey and find what I really do like, and then came back and, that was what I really do like. So.
Right.
But,
it's just, I don't understand how somebody can invest so much time and energy into something, and then when that label is not there anymore, just it's like it never happened.
Yeah, and it's funny because the people that do that the most, I feel like, are also the same people that are the most adamant about the gang shit. You know, the FBI gang shit.
Right.
And it's like, it's funny that you're going to be so outspoken about how this is not a gang, but your mentality is so gangish. like,
Right.
like I don't know. It's just it's bizarre to me. It's especially because it does come down to music. I mean, there's obviously a subculture and a familiarity and a family atmosphere and all that kind of stuff. And you know, you feel it at the shows and at the gatherings and stuff. But it's just like at the end of the day, this is all centered around records.
Yeah.
So
it's all about the music.
Yeah, I mean that's why it exists. You know,
right.
So how can you go from being like this is my favorite thing to being like, oh no, I don't fuck with that. It's like the music's the same. You know.
Yeah.
Twisted didn't leave psychopathic and start making something that was completely out of their, you know, ballpark. And I mean, like some people will say that, you know, some people say like the rock stuff on Generation Nightmare or whatever. It's like now they're selling out to the Warped Tour audience or whatever. But it's like, come on, have you not heard Mutant? Like,
exactly. Have you not heard fucking Freak Show?
Yeah, exactly.
And like, everybody loves Freak Show.
Right, with that Doors cover and fucking, you know.
They had tons of guitars and shit on there.
Yeah, I mean, I was listening to like the Dim Carnival when I was saying I was on, and they did a review of Freak Show, and their biggest critique of it, that they didn't like it was too rock. So it's like, that's from 2000. That's from 20 years ago.
Yeah.
Like, don't act like this is new.
No, Twisted's been doing this for years. It's just an evolution of that sound.
Right. They've gotten better at it. I mean,
exactly.
and that's debatable to people too, because they don't like the sound on this one or whatever. But like, it's become more, it doesn't sound like a producer making a rock track. It sounds like a rock band.
Right. Yeah, this, I've said before, I'm not a fan of the Generation Nightmare album, but I can appreciate the production value behind it because this is the best rock sounding shit that they put out.
Totally.
And actually, I posted the other day, I said something on Twitter that they should have got the guy that did the Mutant remixes. Michael Rideout is his name.
Yeah.
And those metal remixes on that Mutant remix album are fucking really good too.
They are. So it's real thrashy, right? It's got the
it is, yeah, like really fast drums and shit.
Yeah, that stuff's really cool. I think that, I mean, I like the original Mutant's the original Mutant, but that version, they really like fixed what they needed to fix to make that sound like a real rock project.
Yeah, it's a lot more listenable than the original.
Yeah.
But
and I love the original, but they cleaned it up.
Oh, they definitely did. And but yeah, I mean, like their sound is just more refined. Like,
yeah.
Draven, I mean, he knows what he's doing. He's the one that produced all that rock shit on Generation Nightmare.
Totally. I mean, and he comes from that world, and that's what they needed, I think. I mean, you'll hear, I'm trying to think what song it is on there, but there's one song where it's pretty, you know, heavy, and then there's these almost like industrial sounding synths that go off in the back, and it's like that's from someone from that world. Like that doesn't come out of Seven necessarily or someone like that. You know, as much as Seven's great, to get a rock band sound, you know,
you got to have somebody from that world.
Yeah, and they did. And, you know, I kind of wish they had done a full album with The Wickedness, honestly, when they had all those guys. But, you know.
That would have been awesome. I was fortunate enough to see one of those shows.
It was great. Yeah, it was
fucking awesome because, like, they played songs they never do live. Like, they played Familiar. Familiar is probably a top 5 Twisted song for me. I fucking love that song. And to see that live with a band was awesome.
Well, and the band had a good vibe, too. You know, I mean, like, they had their own paint and like it seemed as a whole, it didn't seem like those dudes with some hired hands.
No, like you could tell they were having a good time on stage. And obviously the chemistry with Draven was there because he's the only one left.
Right.
But I mean, the live drum element in a hip hop show is so dope. Like everybody should do it.
Yeah.
And it really works with Twisted shit.
Yeah, I saw them with him for the first time I guess like was it 2 weeks ago or last week? I don't know. It was the 13th, so I guess it was last weekend. Uh, and it was great. And like him and Madrox are doing their little between song stuff. They'll do War Pigs or whatever, and you can tell it makes them excited.
You know what I wish, and I keep saying it, and I'm just gonna keep putting it out there. Maybe it'll get heard and they'll fucking dismiss it, or maybe take it into consideration. Kind of like how Outkast did their the
Speaker Box Love Below.
Yeah, that album.
I see where you're going with this. Yeah,
we get a solo album from Monoxide. We all know Monoxide's the fucking hip hop dude, the rap dude.
Totally.
Get a new solo album from him, straight rap, and then get another solo album from Madrox, and he can do whatever the fuck he wants. I like Madrox better over the rock shit than I do Monoxide.
Yeah, I would agree. I mean, and that's what he likes, so
right.
It makes sense.
And it's dope that
something like that.
Yeah, it's dope that they will work. Obviously, it's a group effort. Mm-hmm. Monoxide will do the rock shit, even though it's more Jamie's
cup of tea or whatever.
Right, exactly. But I mean, if we were to get an album like that and Generation Nightmare, I mean, if we would have got that rock sound and then split it, because the rap songs on there, which is like most of the singles that they released.
Yeah, totally.
Are really fucking good. Sick Mind is a great song. Living at the Bottom, great song.
I put that on the car the other day, or I drove around to that album for the first time yesterday. Because usually I don't listen, whatever. I'm in the car, I'm with my girlfriend or whatever, and we're not listening to Twisted. But I put Generation Nightmare on the car the other day, and it sounds good over car speakers. Like those rap songs hit.
Yeah, they do. They sound really fucking good. And even the rock shit sounds really good.
It sounds great. I mean, Young Wicked just on that mix really nailed it.
Young Wicked fucking killed the mix on that album. Like he's stepped up his engineering game so much.
Yeah, it is super, super high quality.
It really
in a way
is.
That a lot of, and then the earlier, MNE projects when they're all Fritz, that you can tell, like the Zodiac imprint stuff and whatever, like,
yeah,
it's lacking in a way that this now hits super hard.
Yeah, it just wasn't as clear. And I said that, and I feel like I'm like preaching to the choir when I say that. Like nobody gives a fuck when I complain about sound quality, but I mean, I hear it. Everybody else has to fucking hear it. Like
you might be in the wrong, subgenre or whatever to be discussing sound quality. People's favorite shit is recorded on computer mics or whatever.
Right.
Like, I was listening to some old like Half Breed, and that shit's so good, but the mixes and the sound quality is not
the greatest.
Yeah.
But that's what makes it good, because that was almost 20 years ago. So it kind of doesn't excuse it, because I mean, people were putting out good quality shit 20 years ago, but for them recording it on their own 20 years ago,
totally
sounds a lot better than people recording their shit today.
Yeah, and I wonder what that would be if maybe you just had to try harder because there was less easy access kind of thing, like you had to buy somewhat of a decent mic. I don't know, but anyway, way off topic. The point was, I'm hoping that the thing is, the thing that I worry about, not maybe it's unwarranted worry, is that like it's really cool that Young Wicked is helping out with all this stuff because he's got such an ear for it. But I hope he's not spending too much time aiding other people and not working on his own thing, because he's on the verge, I feel like, of a real career,
If you ask me, I put out an episode, one of my earlier episodes,
saying he was
he's that fucking guy. He is that guy. And I felt like he's been that guy since he put out Slaughter. When he put out Slaughter, I was like, oh shit.
Totally. I remember going to see when Violent J had that little solo tour for charity, and he came out and did a few songs, and it was just like, oh, this is not the guy from Axe Murder Boys.
No,
like this is a fully formed performer and lyricist, and then I mean Prodigal Son and all that. I mean I listened to that album the other day for the first time in a while, and was surprised just how it gets me every time. Like this guy is on fire.
That album is fucking amazing.
Mm-hmm.
I would say that's probably my favorite Magic Ninja release yet, to be honest.
It's up there. I mean, the Almighty.
Almighty's fucking great too.
And I'm on the opposite end of the spectrum as you. I love Generation Nightmare. So I think those are my top three from the label would be Prodigal Son, Generation Nightmare, and Almighty. And then also I'm a big Gmo fan. So
yep. I hope, like you said, I hope Young Wicked's not ignoring his own shit to help others out, which is it's still dope because I think in the end it'll work out.
Yeah, and it's still him making money. I'm sure he's getting paid for those projects pretty well.
Absolutely.
And but
I mean, did you listen to the single he put out, Rage?
Oh yeah.
That shit is a fucking banger.
And he's got, I mean, it seems like every little single he puts out is better than the last, So
yeah, if
he rides that momentum, and he just toured with Jelly Roll doing sold out shows, so
he needs to. All right, people are complaining Twisted are quote unquote selling out and trying to gain fans outside of the Juggalo world.
Mm-hmm.
My whole thing is, why the fuck not?
Yeah, why would you want
they're obviously still catering to the Juggalos, but you want to bring more people into this shit because let's be honest, the Juggalo crowd has fucking dwindled down over the years.
Yeah, it's the core.
Right. And go out and get those fans. And Young Wicked doing those Jelly Roll shows is exactly what needs to be happening, especially with a dude like Young Wicked. He doesn't have a gimmick. He doesn't, no, because when you got paint on, there's there's a stigma attached to it right off the bat.
100%. I mean, even somebody like Lex, who I think is a spits fire,
Yeah.
But the minute someone sees him, it's dismissed.
Exactly. The whole selling out outside of the Juggalo shit needs to fucking stop because really you need more people in this shit because it's dwindled down over the years and you need a dude like Young Wicked. You need a dude like Gmo Ski. I'm trying to think Psychopathic Ouija Mac. That's another dude right there because he appeals to the whole Suicide Boys and Puya crowd.
He's got a modern look, a modern sound.
Yeah, we need dudes like this reaching outside the Juggalo world, bringing them in to our world. They're not trying to leave this world. They're trying to bring more people into this shit.
And I don't know why that's so hard for people to see, or why that's looked at as so bad,
Yeah, it makes no sense.
Yeah, I mean, even look back in the day, we're talking about the Jekyll Brothers days or whatever. How did we get into this? Because they were reaching out to people outside of their little world.
Exactly.
Getting Snoop Dogg on tracks, doing magazine covers, trying to reach a larger audience, and it worked.
Think about it. ICP signed with fucking Hollywood Records originally. Actually, Jive Records.
Yeah.
And then Hollywood, and then that didn't work out, and then they went to Island Def Jam. They were trying to reach outside of their core crowd in the Midwest.
And it's no secret, I mean, and they'll say, we wanted this album to really sell, so we got Snoop Dogg and ODB on it. That's not selling out. That's trying to grow the base.
Exactly. You want more fans. The shows they used to play here, they used to play this venue called the Palladium. And the Palladium holds about 2,000 people. That shit used to be a guaranteed sellout. You had to get your tickets before the day of the show.
Totally.
Or else that shit was going to sell out. Now, it's I'll get my ticket day of the show. I know that shit ain't going to sell out. And the last few shows, and the last few shows that I've been to the Palladium, they have a lower level and an upper level. They don't even open the upper level because they didn't even sell enough tickets.
Yeah, totally.
And that goes for ICP and Twisted.
Yeah, I mean, same story. I'm assuming nationwide. They used to do a place here called the Roseland Theater, and now it's the Hawthorne Theater. It's probably half the size. So
yep. I mean, last time I saw Twisted, they played what is called the Upstairs Palladium, which is a smaller venue, holds about 600, 700 people, something like that. They sold it out, but that's more the type of crowds that they're playing, ICP included. They're just playing. It's smaller venues for everybody nowadays.
Yeah, and then I mean, I think a lot of people would want to chalk that up to the split or something, and say, well, if everyone got back together, we'd go back. But it's just not true.
It's not, because it's because nobody was reaching to gain new fans.
Right.
Shit got complacent.
Well, and if it becomes this weird inbred thing where it's like, all right, so if I'm only catering to these 500 people, and then we do something that makes 100 of them mad, okay, well, now we got 400 people. You know what I mean? But if we're not doing anything to reach the larger world, and that's how it dies. That's how tours stop getting booked, or they, limited runs, or, whatever. Don't go to the towns that you're not guaranteed to sell out in. And that's how it all dies.
Yeah. And I appreciate what Twisted's doing and trying to reach out. ICP's doing it because they signed, they got the newer dudes, they got Light, they got Ouija. And those are the type of dudes that appeal to people that wouldn't normally listen to a couple dudes painted up like clowns.
Totally. Especially Ouija, I'd say.
Absolutely. He's got the reach. Star of Psychopathic.
Yes, 100%. Do you think, in your personal opinion, do you think Light is still there?
No.
I don't think so either. I think he's being real coy about his status, but I think it's pretty clear that he's back on his own.
Yeah, when he had a video shoot, he did a casting for a video shoot. He said, I want all the homies, ninjas, killers, everything but juggalos at my video shoot. And I don't know if that was on purpose or not, but there's
that statement he put out about, the hatchet is with me for life or whatever. And it's like, he said everything but I'm on the label.
Right.
And I think it's intentional. I think because he knows, that base is there. And if he's, it's that same thing. If the labels, if the Hatchet Man's on the back of the album, is anyone buying it?
Look at ABK. He put out 3 collabs albums last year.
Right.
And, I'm just as guilty, but where the fuck is Shapeshifter?
Yeah. And I honestly think, I think that's just a thing that's never going to be like, the new one's coming out.
Which is not on Psychopathic.
Right. And I just think, I don't know why. The thing with him is I don't know why he holds on to it. I don't know what it benefits him in.
Right.
In saying, like, I'm there, when it's like, are you?
It doesn't seem like it.
Yeah. You haven't been featured on anything. You haven't been booked on a tour. You haven't been putting anything out through that. You know what I mean? Like, when's the last time ABK opened a Psychopathic tour, or, did a guest verse on someone's album? I guess he was on Hoodoo's last album, which was 2016.
Yep.
And I think that's it.
It's just not the same anymore. It's so weird, because I could remember going to shows. You were like Psychopathic shows. It was always at least somebody else from the label on tour with either Twisted or ICP. Mm-hmm. Like, I've seen Blaze and ABK more than I've seen Twisted and ICP, but only because they opened up so many fucking shows for them.
Totally. They were, one or the other.
Right. And it's just not like that anymore. You go to an ICP show nowadays, it's going to be, which is dope on their part. They'll reach out to dudes like Ritz, like their last tour, Ritz, DJ Paul.
Yeah. And it makes for a great night.
Right. But you gotta, where's the Psychopathic act? Yeah.
Well, at least that tour, there was Ouija on that one.
Oh yeah, that's right.
So he's the new, albeit everything guy. But
I wonder if the artist has to really push and kind of force themselves into a situation.
It's possible, or just prove that they're available 24/7 all the time, or I don't know. And I don't know. I remember there was that long Fagel Lovers interview where the one where it was pretty much announced that there was a beef or whatever. And I remember Jay talking specifically about how he would be texting George all night or whatever. And I wonder if that's kind of the thing, is you have to just have your line open constantly for whatever ideas he has, or, whatever comes up. And then someone like a Ouija is just always open to anything. So it's like you get a text at 3 a.m. from Jay and you're like, hey, I'm here, let's talk. And then that's how you get booked. That's how you get, whatever.
Get put on to shit.
Yeah. And I don't know. And obviously the falling out, or maybe not falling out, whatever, with Light was probably different situations. Probably, I mean, I don't know how much that Underground Avengers track had to do with it, or what, but yeah, I mean, it's so much weird behind the scenes stuff. There's no way to know. Maybe he just wasn't selling, honestly.
And another key thing about Light not being on Psychopathic is he's featured on Buckshot's and Boondocks' new project that they just put out.
He is, yeah. And he sounds great on it, honestly.
I've said before, broken record, not a huge fan of Buckshot or Boondocks, but that new project they put out is pretty solid. It's basically like a Riders album. They just went jacking for beats on it.
Which is funny to me. I mean, funny is the wrong word, but I'm surprised it's on Spotify and stuff. I mean,
you'd be surprised. Like, you find a lot of shit. People put out shit. They just be stealing beats and putting it up on iTunes. I'm like, how do you get away with this?
I guess if you just don't publicize it, Spotify's not searching for the newest Buckshot records or whatever.
Right.
But I thought that the whole thing because I know that when you put something on Spotify, there's like a 10-day wait or something like that, or a 2-week wait. And I thought it was because they had to approve it and make sure it was not, uncleared samples or something. But I think that must just be completely false at this point, because there's no way that Dre signed off on that project.
Right. But it's a dope project, and that was my favorite song from the project, and it just happened to have Light on it.
And I'm not even a big Light fan, but they all sounded fantastic on there.
Yeah, Boondocks especially killed that shit. I love Boondocks when he's on some like gangsta shit.
He's been on fire lately, I think. I mean, I don't think it's the most popular with everybody, but his last album, The Liquor, Lies, and Legacy, I really like that.
Yeah.
And I thought, like we're talking about with Young Wicked and stuff, I thought that there's room for that to reach people outside of this world. I could see some of those songs, being in the same world as like a Jelly Roll or something like that, where it's got fans that are just fans of country music and rap, and they like a heartfelt song or whatever.
Yep.
But
I'm not familiar with the album, so I never listened to it.
It's good. I mean, it depends if you like that kind of thing, but it's basically his country rap album. And I think people were mad that there was verses that are on older songs, and there's remixes of songs that were on the last album, The Murder. But as a whole, little half an hour project or whatever, it flows really well. I think it's got appeal. I think he's never going to get there. I mean, and by there, I mean the larger world, with the paint. But right. I think as a songwriter and as a rapper, I think he's really stepped his game up since, probably Abaddon was where I really started to see that, this guy's doing something, that people would like.
Yeah, I mean, if he's making that kind of music to appeal to an outside crowd, then why the fuck not?
Yeah. And so, I mean, I think that project with Buckshot's really good. I'm excited to see where he goes from here. I feel like with his stuff, he'll do one thing where he pushes forward, and then one thing where he kind of comes back. By that I mean, like, something like The Murder, where it's like reaching for the top of the building kind of thing. And then he put out the Turncoat Dirty CD, which is just like, this is just for me for fun,
Yeah.
And then do like a Young Underground Avengers album, which is just like, this is going to reach the base, but
right.
That's not going to be topping the charts anytime soon.
No. I mean, he's staying busy. That's for damn sure.
Yeah, totally. And he's doing his own shows and stuff, and he's out on the road, which I think more people should be doing. Even if it's little tiny headlining shows across, all around the country. I'm glad to see him doing that. I'm glad to see Lex is starting to do that.
Lex is so dope. Mad underrated.
And I don't know what happened to him lately. I mean, like, he had that one mixtape he was pushing on social media, the Strictly for My Ninjas.
Yeah.
And then that just never came.
Music pretty consistent for a while, and it's been a while since the Shadow King mixtape came out.
It's been at least a year, right?
Yeah, I'd say it's been about a year. I remember bumping that last summer.
Yeah, and I mean, he was the one that, before the roster was as big as it is now, it was like, he's going to be putting something out every 3 months, and he's the guy that you're going to, look to consistently for new music. And then, I don't know if he's just kind of back at the drawing board trying to figure out what the next move is, because he hasn't had the most success out of everyone on the label, or if it's just that he's,
maybe he got
focusing on other things. It could be that too. Yeah, I don't know. But I mean, I think he needs one big push, with whatever the next project is, and expand out a little bit, because he can rap.
I've seen Monoxide on his stream. He's like, I've tried convincing Lex to take the paint off.
Yeah, I've heard that too, and I don't think it'd be a bad move.
I don't think it would be either. Because he's
honestly,
like a rapper's rapper.
totally. I mean, he's just a New York spitter.
Right.
Is
Like
like a
you could
battle rapper.
tell, yeah, you could just tell he's just a rapping ass motherfucker from New York.
Yeah, exactly. And like, there's an audience for that, you know. And I'm never going to tell anyone to not do what they love to do. So if he loves the paint and the, staying
Right.
in a small scene, then sick, do it. But especially if he's doing stuff, with Flatliners, he's got the guy from MOP on his first album and stuff like that. It's like,
That
there's
track
a
was
larger,
fucking fire too.
100%. And he can do stuff like that. And his hooks are good, you know. And he's got when he gets kind of emotional, and does some kind of soul searching on a track, that's always fire.
Yep.
There's a big audience out there for Lex, I think, and it's just I don't know if it's just that he's too niche, or if it is the paint, or if he's just, I don't know, but I'd love
Dope
to see
as
him
fuck,
blow up.
regardless.
Yeah, I'd love to see him on hip hop blogs and all that kind of stuff,
Yep.
And then the nicest dude too. If you listen to him in interviews, very humble, very self aware.
He really is. Yeah.
I don't know, but hopefully something from him soon. He was just in London, which is crazy. Maybe that'll pop for him a little bit, because I mean, who fucking in the Juggalo world ever tours the UK?
Nobody ever. It seems like it's like every once in like 10 fucking years.
Yeah, exactly. So maybe he'll get some London audience and he'll start popping over there or something. But
yeah, I mean, if you can reach outside of the Juggalo world and bring people back into it, fucking go for it. Do it.
Right.
Like,
because I think there's such a stigma, and honestly, I think it would not be a mistake if everyone stopped having paint except for ICP, because like
Twisted's done shows with no paint.
Yeah, that Most Tasteless tour they didn't have it, and going into it, I was like, what's this going to be like? Seeing them on stage, is it going to have the same entertainment value? And it had the exact same entertainment value. It's still those dudes,
right?
They're still doing the same performance, So I don't know. I think people see the paint and they go, "Oh, Juggalos, no, thank you." And
there's a stigma.
Yeah, and obviously for ICP, I mean, that's the gimmick. They're clowns.
Right.
They're not gonna go out as Joe and Joey like that. There's no appeal there.
No, but that for me, I'd be like, "What the fuck are you guys doing?"
Yeah, just doing some 45-year-old dudes in Ed Hardy shirts rapping.
I mean, no, thank you. I do not want to see this.
Yeah, but everybody else, I mean, I don't know, like Blaze, I could see him doing some shit. I don't know. It's just, I hate to see people held back because of something they started doing 20 years ago.
Right.
Like if the music is expanding and growing, maybe the image could too. I don't know. I feel like I'm gonna get a bunch of fucking people mad at me for saying that, but
yeah, I feel like some of the shit we just talked about, people wouldn't be happy about, but I mean, fuck them.
Yeah, and it's also a thing where, like, I feel like in the Juggalo world, people just don't like to consider the outside world, and I think that's a big part of the tenets of it or whatever. But it's like,
well, the whole thing is fuck the mainstream, right?
Right, but you got to be clear what the mainstream is. The mainstream is not just everything.
Right. You can still be fuck the mainstream and all that, and still embrace, I guess, new sounds, new looks.
Right. I mean,
new
you
opportunities.
can grow and expand as a person.
Right. Like you said earlier with Young Wicked, you're like, okay, this is not the dude from Axe Murder Boys. Like if there was one dude from either label, in my opinion, to go above and beyond either label, it's him.
Totally. I mean, if you look at some of the stuff that's popping right now, I mean, you got like G-Eazy or Logic, people like that. I could see Young Wicked sitting nicely in that world.
And he raps his ass off.
Totally. And I mean, if he gets the right hook, some of those songs on Prodigal Son, they're a little bit homemade sounding for it, but I mean, they could make their way on radio.
Right.
Or,
that song with Ritz and Madrox is, like, it's one of the most popular views or videos on Twisted's YouTube channel. If you go look at it, I think it's like in the top 5.
Yeah. And it's, I mean, no one in that video's, Madrox isn't painted, the hook's good.
Right.
All 3 of them are rapping hard. They're rapping about, overcoming obstacles, which is universal.
Exactly. And he makes
Ritz is
great.
big.
Yeah, Ritz is that dude. Ritz outgrew Strange, so he had to leave.
Mm-hmm.
He wasn't going to get bigger than Tech. Like, they wouldn't let that happen, so he had to go do his own thing.
Right. Which is and the thing that makes all of this larger picture, like that situation right there, pinpoints the problems, I think, because Tech is not have Ritz's name in his mouth all the time talking shit about him.
Right.
The Strange fans are not turning their backs on Ritz because he left Strange. You know what I mean? That's like that's insane. He needed to take an opportunity to further his career and went and did it, and everyone's proud of him, and that's the way it should be.
Absolutely. And that's what should have happened with Twisted and IZB.
Totally. And I know there's all the whatever with the March or the whatever, Young Wicked signing or, whatever story is quote unquote the reason there's problems or whatever, but it's all just such bullshit. Like, those dudes don't need to do the March necessarily, and that's going to get people mad too. But, the whole purpose of them leaving was that, like, we want to have our own career and we want to lead our own career, and we don't want to necessarily do everything this dude says we should do.
Right. Yeah. If you grow to a certain point, then you don't want a boss anymore. You're like, I can do bigger than this.
Right. Especially a boss who at that point is just a friend.
Right. Right.
Like they, by that point, they weren't even on the label. So he wasn't even their boss. He was just a dude they know who was acting like their boss.
Right.
Which is like, of course people don't want that. These are all people. These are all 45-year-old dudes.
Right.
Like,
they're fucking grown ass men.
Yeah. Of course they don't want to, do everything this dude's like, hey, this is a great idea. Some of them I'm sure they think are great ideas and would love to do it. Some of them they don't. And that's doing business with other businesses,
Right.
You agree to do some stuff, you don't agree to do others. The fact that there's a whole fucking, I don't know, subculture fallout because of it is, hopefully someday we all, everyone looks back on this and goes, I remember when we fucking cared about that.
Right.
But
right.
I don't know. It's tough.
Yeah,
it's tough.
is.
I'm, and I haven't seen too many comments or gotten too much flack on the page yet, but I'm waiting to start getting hate on there because it's a Twisted page, and that's crazy that I have to get myself ready for that.
There's plenty of times I post, I post album anniversaries all the time. Mm-hmm. I'll post an album anniversary for Twisted. It's been so many years since this album came out, and I'll get the occasional dude on there. Fuck Twisted. It's like, really? Is that fucking necessary for an album anniversary post?
Right. And who is this for? You're just screaming into a void. Like,
right.
Yeah. And I don't know. I haven't gotten too much of it yet. If anything, what's been kind of heartening is all I've gotten in that regard is stuff being like, the good old days, or, wish there wasn't a problem here, or, stuff like that. People that are,
that's what it makes me think of. Like, damn, the good old days, this is dope. And then fuck, look where we are now. This sucks. You know, as a whole scenario, like, we ain't getting Dark Lotus anytime soon.
Not all 5,
no, and we're not getting Twisted at the Gathering. It just sucks.
Yeah, I mean, especially that last one, the Gathering. Like, it takes it down such a notch for me. Like the lineup they have now is really stellar. They've got a lot of great stuff going on there.
Yeah,
but I mean,
for the first couple of years, it was awkward.
Yeah.
Like the last couple of years, it was like, especially that first year.
Well, that was also just like the one that was kind of shitty overall, right? It was
right. The
I forget what that
Oklahoma
was. One. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, Mitch he's like, that Gathering sucked.
I mean, even watching live footage from it, because I didn't go that year. I went the year before, the 2016 when the last one Twisted was at, and then the next one I didn't go. And just watching footage online from it, it just felt lackluster. Felt like people were bummed. And people were getting, like, I don't think arrested, but busted with weed and stuff. And
yeah, that's fucking whack.
Being topless or whatever. And it's just like, it felt like no one had fun.
Right.
And so it didn't help that was, the first year there was no Twisted, no Blaze, no Dark Lotus. It definitely added to the atmosphere. But I think this year they got it right. And obviously it hasn't gone on yet. But it seems like it's what they, moving forward gracefully.
Right.
With like, we got, Suicide Boys, we got some stuff that's, gonna maybe bring some people in, or just maybe open up our base to some other things they don't know. It's like what they used to do with Busta Rhymes and stuff like that, which is just like, okay, we don't have this whole segment of this subculture, but we can get all this other stuff and make a great festival.
This year's lineup is fucking awesome.
Mm-hmm.
Suicide Boys is one of my favorite groups that have come out within that I've found in the last 5 years. I love Suicide Boys. So for them to play The Gathering for me, even though I'm not going, is super dope.
It's a cool look for sure.
It's definitely a good look. And then Ghostmane. I'm not a big Ghostmane fan, but he falls in that same category as Suicide Boys. And I've seen his
instrumentation.
His live performances are fucking nuts.
Yeah, he definitely fucking tears it up. And that is, in my opinion, the modern equivalent of what was going on in the late 90s, early 2000s with the Juggalo stuff. Just vibe wise, the kind of rock vibe introduced to like an aggressive hip hop thing. And for them to actively be trying to blend those worlds makes all the sense in the world. So, and it's another thing that I think could potentially open people's minds to go, oh, this isn't all bullshit. This isn't all a bunch of people in face paint throwing soda around. Like, this is like a fan base that really loves music.
Right.
So, fingers crossed, we'll see how it goes. But I mean, if
I'd
those
be
guys
really
start working
fucking
with
sad
them,
if Suicide Boys gets shit thrown at them.
I doubt it, unless they say something stupid.
Right.
But who knows? And I'm surprised because I know on Monoxide streams, he's always talked about how he's heard countless times that Suicide Boys hate juggalos and don't fuck with them. So I'd be curious to see what the truth to that is, and what got them signed onto that festival. Was it financial thing? Was it just that they thought it'd be a cool idea? Obviously some combination. They're getting paid for it for sure.
Right. I've never seen Suicide Boys say fuck juggalos or anything like that. Mm-hmm. They were getting called horrorcore when they first came out.
Right.
And they even have a song called Stop Calling Us Horrorcore.
Yeah.
I just don't think they want to be stigmatized to a certain genre of music.
Well, and especially something like horrorcore, like, it's my favorite thing in the world, but it does limit your growth a little bit.
Right. I mean, they're working with like Juicy J now of 3-6.
Travis Barker.
Right. So they've definitely outgrown that.
Right. Even like when like Tyler the Creator came out, I remember him having that big like, I'm not a fucking horrorcore artist thing.
Because that was thing.
Same stigma. And it's like, if you look at what he's doing now,
he's doing like R&B music now.
Exactly. So if he would have gotten boxed into that and that had to be his whole career, like, where would we be now? So I get it for sure. But yeah, I don't know. Hopefully that goes well, and that's a new bridge that's built.
Yeah, it'd be dope.
Like, if anything, especially like doing the stuff with the Instagram page, like it's a lot of looking back, and it's a lot of thinking about like the legacy of things. And I know ICP themselves, like, as a movement or as dudes, have had some really nice articles written about them, or especially stuff around. I remember like Vice doing a few articles around the time Missing Link came out and stuff about how, like, hey, take these guys seriously. Here's what they think, and whatever. But that public image is still so bad. And I do think with some more bridges built here and there and some more things like that, like, I don't know if it's never going to be everyone's cup of tea musically. That's just a given,
No. Right. I mean, not everybody's going to like everything anybody does.
Right. Exactly. And I mean, like, I don't think mainstream America is going to be listening to Riddlebox all the time or whatever. But I do think there's room for it to be looked back at, or not even looked at from a current point of view positively, and go like, oh, that's that thing. It's not my thing, but it's something like, you don't have to be ashamed of it or whatever. Not that anyone should be, but it's hard to go out in the world wearing a certain T-shirt or whatever and get all the looks.
Whatever. Right, I get what you're saying.
Yeah. So, I mean, like, I think doing stuff with Suicide Boys, doing stuff like that, even Ritz or even 3-6 Mafia. I mean, 3-6 Mafia last year or 2 years ago, or whatever, like, there was probably 5 songs in the top 40 that had their hooks or beats or lyrical references or whatever. So it's like, the more ingrained they become in that, the more room there is, I think, for people to go like, that's fine. I don't hate it.
Right. Yeah. It's just there.
Yeah.
And not hated on and spit on, I guess.
Exactly. Or not looked down upon as just a person that has, that likes it.
Right.
And, I think that's been everything over the years, where there's been like, metal used to be that way, or, it's not the first time something like that has happened, where there's a subculture, a musical genre, or something that everyone shits on for a decade, and then they kind of go, at worst, we're indifferent to it. Who cares?
Right.
I don't know. I would love to see that happen, because I think the work deserves it. I think there's a lot of really good music there, and a lot of especially with ICP, there's so much interesting concepts and like, ideas and like world building. And
yeah, if people actually listen to the music, like there's really good stuff in there,
and storytelling and all that.
Yeah, like I always say it, Violent J is one of the best storytellers in hip hop.
Oh, 100%.
It's just it gets overlooked on because he's rapping about carnival shit, serial killing shit, whatever.
And I would say it's not even overlooked because of that. I'd say it doesn't even get that far for most people
because of the look.
It's the look and the Fago and the big personalities, and you go, oh, okay, well, fuck this. The people that most vehemently hate that shit, I doubt have heard 3 songs or 1.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know. That is what it is, I guess.
Yeah. If we can bring more people in, fucking do it. And the only way we're going to do it is actually going outside of the juggler world and bringing people in.
Totally. And I think, like we've been talking about over and over again, but like, I think Young Wicked's that dude. I think he has the potential to do that. I think Twisted has the potential to do it on a different level, like not maybe the modern, new hot rapper vibe, but, I mean, look at the way Generation Nightmare was on the charts for a while, and they're doing, Warped Tour today and did Comic-Con yesterday. I mean, that's another level. And then
there's a lane for it.
Right. And Gmo, I mean, he's got the video game audience. I went to the Generation Nightmare tour last week and saw a guy who I haven't seen since I was in high school. So, I'm 32, and I ran into this dude. Hey, how are you? And he's, I'm just here to see Gmo. I watch his live streams, and, I'm a big gamer and love what he does. Think he's funny, whatever. So, I mean, like, there's pockets.
Right.
Developing.
Right.
And, I think it's exciting. I think instead of saying like quote unquote sellout shit or whatever, I think everyone should be excited that there's new avenues for this stuff to grow.
Yeah, I think it's dope. Twisted doing Warped Tour, in my opinion, was a good look.
Yeah, I mean, it blew, and a lot of people say like, that influenced their new album in a way that they didn't care for, and of course it influenced their new album,
right?
Because they got to watch bands kill it in front of thousands of people every day all summer, and look at how cool that looked, and listen to different music they didn't know, hang out with bands like Motionless in White and stuff that they hadn't hung out with before, hadn't met before. And like, I think taking inspiration from anywhere is a positive thing. I don't think it's, they not like didn't see Warped Tour and go like, oh, okay, we can do this and make millions of dollars, because that's just not even realistic. But I think what they did do is go, oh, this is a really cool thing, and we're inspired, and inspiration is fucking awesome.
Yeah, and it's a whole new lane we could take and try to expand.
And that's what always.
Because if you're not trying to expand, then what the fuck are you doing?
Yeah, exactly. And I think to a lot of people, that's exactly what you should be doing. Is going, I've got this base, we're good, and that's great for you in the base, because you get your favorite thing directed right at you.
Right.
But I also don't think it's interesting to have music that doesn't challenge you or doesn't try, take new risks.
Right.
Like just listen to the old record.
Exactly.
Like,
you might not be a fan of it, but there's going to be another record.
Exactly. And like, if, I don't know, saying like, this thing is different than the other thing I like. Good.
Right.
Maybe you'll like a new thing, or maybe you won't. And that's fine too. But like, I don't know. It's insane to actively hope that artists will not develop and grow.
Yeah, it's backwards. Makes no sense.
Yeah, it's a death of art.
Right. Yeah, makes no fucking sense. Expand the fucking crowd, man. Yeah. And cheer them on while they're fucking doing it. Don't.
Right. If it's family, like you say, and your brother, your cousin, or whoever is successful, are you going to sit and be mad about that? You're a pretty shitty member of a family, you know. Like you
Right.
go to your cousin's, celebration for his new promotion or whatever, and you're just sitting there mean mugging him because he's doing well. Like, that's your issue, you know.
Yeah.
So I mean, the people that scream the loudest about family are the people that are the most pissed off about everything. And it's like, I don't know. You seem like you seem like an asshole.
That's awesome. I think I'm gonna wrap this bitch up. I think that's a good spot to end.
Cool. I'll get all the fucking hate mail.
Same here. That's fine with me because the block button is easily accessible.
Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah, that's a great point to end on. If people want to reach out, how can they get a hold of you?
I'm on, obviously, Twisted History on Instagram. So just, the way that is spelled. And then Late Night Cakes, all one word, obviously, on Twitter. And I'm very inactive on Twitter, and I've got like 13 followers. So, but, hey, send me a message and that'll maybe help me get back into it. I just don't really know how to use Twitter successfully.
Right. It's all good. And I want to thank you for taking the time out, hopping on the show. This was really fucking fun. I had a lot of fun.
Me too. I didn't know what to expect, because as a listener, you get a certain, like, I'm not used to being interactive with it, but I had a great time.
Yeah, man. Really appreciate you fucking hopping on.
Anytime.
And absolutely. And to everybody else, until next time, I'm out. Peace.